Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Bachelor's Degree Program, Elective Course, Rural Development, BRDE-101 Rural Development, Indian Context, Block 3, Nature and Process of Development, Unit 4, Panchayati Raj, Cooperatives and Green Revolution. 4.0 Aims and Objectives. Eradication of poverty and the creation of hunger-free India have been major concerns of policy and programs related to rural development and agriculture. The introduction of Panchayati Raj, strengthening of cooperatives and integration of high-yield variety seeds, water and fertilizer technology, popularly known as Green Revolution, were major steps initiated for agriculture and rural development in India. After independence. In this unit we will present you the following features of Panchayati Raj, cooperatives and green revolution in our country. Evolution of Panchayati Raj. Goals and objectives of Panchayati Raj system. Features of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Concept, principles and major types of cooperatives, and Green Revolution. 4.1 Introduction. After independence, Government of India initiated several agricultural and rural development programs aimed at to improve quality of life of the people living in rural areas. Major objectives behind initiation of these programs were to save rural areas from food grain crisis and further develop it economically, politically and socially. The establishment and strengthening of the institutions like Panchayati Raj and corporations have gradually improved the socio-economic and political conditions of rural India. Green Revolution emerged as a possible answer to counter the challenge of food grain crisis by enhancing food production. These three have very strong interconnections which have facilitated each other's Cat1 i.e. development. For as Gunnar Myrdal expressed it, economic development ultimately requires a change in the way people think, feel and act. Individually they will have to alter their attitude towards life and work. In particular, they will have to work harder and more efficiently and direct their energies into more productive channels. Collectively, they will have to cooperate more to improve their society. And thus the conditions in which live and work. The quest for mass involvement is the central tenet of democratic planning. 4.2 Evolution of Panchayati Raj institutions in India. Panchayats have been the backbone of the Indian villages since the beginning of recorded history. To achieve Gandhiji's dream of every village being a republic and panchayats having powers, it has to be translated into reality. Indian government has made several efforts to achieve these objectives through legislation and planning since independence. Brief descriptions of major initiatives in this direction are as following. Community Development Program, CDP, in post-independent India. The introduction of Community Development Program in 1952 with people's participation as its central concern was conceived as an instrument to transform the social and economic life of the village community. From the very beginning this program has raised a great expectation of the planners. The expectations from the program were blown out of proportion. Toynbee considered it as one of the most beneficent revolutions, and for UN mission it was an important experiment of 20th century. But the aspect in praxis indicates that there was lack of enthusiasm among the people for the program. It was due to non-association of the rural people with the program. The rural poor, entangled and entrapped with vicious circle of poverty, failed to associate themselves with the program. The absence of enthusiasm among the people for community development program was due to the non-association of the people in general and absence of their representation in particular in the planning and execution of developmental schemes. Therefore, community development program could not promote popular participation, which was one of its main objectives. The dependence of the people on the government for material resources continued and self-help did not take root. To conclude, Community Development Program failed in achieving their proclaimed objectives. But a lesson was learned from it. that without effective participation of the representatives of the people in development programs it cannot be made successful. 4.2.1 Reports of various committees. Various committees were set up to examine, suggest and improve the people's participation and democratic decentralization through Panchayati Raj institutions. A brief summary of the reports of the committees are as following. 1. Balwant-Rai Mehta Committee. A study team on community projects and National Extension Service was formed to evaluate the working of community development and to suggest ways and means to overcome the shortfalls of the program. Balwant-Rai Mehta was appointed as a chairman by the Committee on Planned Projects of the Planning Commission in 1957. Committee expressed concern about the lack of participation in community development program and made a strong plea for devolution of power to lower levels through Panchayati Raj. Thus Panchayati Raj system came into existence in 1959 with the twin objectives of democratic decentralization and local participation in planned programs. This was a big step forward in the field of rural development. Balwant-Rai Mehta Committee recommended a three-tier system of Panchayati Raj. In other words, the system had to work at three levels. They were district level, Zila Parishad, intermediate level, block samiti, and lower level, the lowest level, village panchayat. The committee suggested the setting up of block-level committees of elected representatives with adequate powers and resources for development programs. The team felt that this Panchayati Raj system would establish a link between the people and government. The team was optimistic that Panchayati Raj system will establish a linkage between local leadership enjoying confidence of local people and the government and will be able to translate the policies of the government into action. The enthusiasm generated by this new strategy for development did not last long. Panchayati Raj system was subjected to rough weather, partly because of our changing development priorities and partly due to lack of clarity about the concept and functioning of the system itself. Though the Balwant-Rai Mehta Committee had recommended a three-tier system of Panchayati Raj, but the system adopted by the various state governments was not uniform. There was general apathy or indifference or even hostility among the officials and state-level politicians for the Panchayati Raj system. As a result, Panchayati Raj system declined after 1965. 2. Ashoka Mehta Committee. After about 15 years of the existence of the Panchayati Raj institutions in the country, a committee was appointed in 1977 under the chairmanship of Ashoka Mehta to review the working of the Panchayati Raj institutions. Ashoka Mehta Committee has listed several factors for the decline of Panchayati Raj systems, such as the recent disassociation of the growing and complex programs of development with the Panchayati Raj, inability of the bureaucracy to involve panchayats in the execution of developmental programs, internal deficiencies in the panchayat institutions and the absence of clarity about the concept itself. Ashoka Mehta Committee report provided a definite and emphatic philosophical treatment to the system. The committee diagnosed the syndrome for the social milieu and laid down the institutional, structural and functional framework of rural local government. It was in favor of reinforcing local democracy by stipulating transfer of all local functions related to both developmental and non-developmental at the district level and below. It wanted to ensure the pursuit of national objectives relating to weaker sections. The most significant recommendation of the committee in regard to structure was that it favored two-tier Panchayati Raj system. According to it, the Zila Parishad at the district level had to be established as the first point of decentralization. It recommended the formation of Mandal Panchayat. A Mandal Panchayat was conceived as a group of villages which would make necessary links with the system in developing local points. This would also develop links between rural and urban areas. One major weakness of Ashoka Mehta Committee was that it ignored the importance of Gram Sabha. 3. G.V.K. Rao Committee. In 1985, Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India appointed a committee to examine the administrative arrangements for rural development. Apart from other issues, one of the important matters before the committee was to study the role of Panchayati Raj bodies and their relationships with the proposed administrative setup. While examining the role and genesis of Panchayati Raj institutions in historical perspective, the committee looked into the factors which were responsible for the decline of their status. With a view to activate the Panchayati Raj institutions, the committee gave several useful suggestions. It was of the opinion that districts should be the prime unit for overall planning and development, and suggested to strengthen the Zilla Parishad by introducing a system of subcommittees constituted on the basis proportional representation. It further suggested even transferring of some of the planning functions at the district level. It recommended the elections of local bodies regularly to achieve the ideals of participatory democracy. The committee believed that only large number of people's participation would contribute to development. In order to achieve this, adequate powers and financial resources at the local level were considered essential. 4. L.M. Singhvi Committee. Singhvi Committee was set up in 1986. The committee gave importance to Gram Sabha as it viewed Gram Sabha as the seat of democracy. Major recommendations of the committee were, for the constitutional recognition of local self-government, regular elections of panchayat bodies, and for adequate financial resources to ensure effective functioning of panchayats. The committee was for the judicial tribunal of Panchayati Raj in every state to deal with matters related to the working of Panchayati Raj. It recommended that Nyaya Panchayat should be given the functions of mediation and settling issues. By the end of 1988, a subcommittee of the Consultative Committee of the Parliament under the chairmanship of P.K. Tungan made recommendations for strengthening of Panchayati Raj system. One of its important recommendations was that the Panchayati Raj bodies should be constitutionally recognized. Similarly, Congress committee headed by Gandhi in 1989 recommended three-tier system of Panchayati Raj, fixed terms of 5 years and reservation for scheduled castes/tribes and women. It was against the backdrop of these recommendations by various committees and commissions that the Constitution 64 Amendment Bill was drafted. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU.
4.3 The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, 1992. In September 1991, 72nd amendment of the Constitution was introduced, which was referred to the Joint Committee of the Parliament. The Joint Committee of the Parliament submitted its report, which was later on passed by the both Houses of Parliament. After that, it got approval of more than half of the states. Finally, on 20th of April 1993, President of India gave it the assent. This amendment of the Constitution is known as the Constitution 73rd Amendment, Act 1992. This act was brought into the force by a notification with effect from 24th of April 1993. Special features of the amendment. The main features of the Constitutional 73rd Amendment, Act 1992, are: 1. The Gram Sabha will be a body comprising of all the adult members registered as voters in the Panchayat area. 2. There shall be a three-tier system of Panchayat at village, intermediate and district level. Smaller states with population below 20 lakhs will have the option not to have the intermediate level Panchayat. 3. Seats in Panchayats at all three levels shall be filled by direct election. In addition, chairpersons of village panchayats can be made members of the panchayats at intermediate level, and chairpersons of panchayats at intermediate level can be members of panchayat at the district level. MPs, MLAs and MLCs could also be members of panchayats at the intermediate or the district level. 4. In all the panchayats, seats would be reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in proportion to their population. 1/3 of the total number of seats will be reserved for women. 1/3 of the seats reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes will also be reserved for women. 5. Posts of the chairpersons of the panchayat at all levels shall be reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in proportion to their population in the state. 1/3 posts of chairpersons of panchayats at all levels shall also be reserved for women. 6. It shall be open to the legislature of the state to provide reservation of seats and posts of chairpersons in panchayats. for backward classes of citizens. 7. Every panchayat shall have a uniform 5-year/term and elections to constitute new bodies shall be completed before the expiry of the term. In the event of dissolution, elections will be compulsorily held within 6 months. The reconstituted panchayat will serve for the remaining period of the 5-year term. 8. The existing panchayats shall continue until the expiry of their current term. They shall not be dissolved by amending any law. 9. A person who is disqualified under any law for elections to the legislature of the state or under any law if the state will not be entitled to become members of panchayats. I0. An independent election commission will be established in the state for superintendence, direction and control of the electoral process and preparation of electoral rolls. 11. Specific responsibilities will be entrusted to the panchayats to prepare plans for economic development and social justice in respect of matters listed in 11 schedule. For the implementation of development schemes, the main responsibility will be entrusted to the panchayat. 12. The panchayat will receive adequate funds for carrying out their functions. Grants from state government will constitute an important source of funding, but state governments are also expected to assign the revenue of certain taxes to the panchayat. In some cases, panchayat will also be permitted to collect and retain the revenue it raises. 13. In each state, a finance commission will be established within 1 year, and then after every 5 years, to determine the principles on the basis of which adequate financial resources would be ensured for panchayat. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act has provided panchayats powers and authority to function as institutions of self-government. The following powers and responsibilities are to be delegated to panchayats at the appropriate level. I. Preparation of plan for economic development and social justice. 2. Implementation of schemes for economic development and social justice in relation to 29 subjects given in 11th schedule of the Constitution. 3. To levy, collect and appropriate taxes, duties, tolls and fees. Check your progress. 1. I. What are main recommendations of Bulwan Trimeta Committee? 2. Describe important features of the Constitutional 73R1 Amendment Act, 1992. 4.4 Cooperatives. During colonial period in 1904, Indian Cooperative Societies Act was promulgated to protect peasant cultivators from exploitation by money lenders and traders. Consequently, the role of cooperatives was essentially confined to providing cheap credit to farmers. After independence during first 5-year plan in 1950, Indian state paid attention on cooperatives. Government focused on cooperatives with a view that it is a suitable organization for undertaking the programs of economic development. Thus, government entered the cooperative institutions in a big way as a partner at different levels. Gradually, the advantage of cooperative in the field of marketing and processing of agricultural produce was also realized. 4.4.1 Concept of cooperatives. The International Cooperative Alliance, at its Manchester Congress in September 1995, adopted a statement of cooperative identity. The statement included a definition of cooperatives, the attached values and a set of principles intended to guide cooperative organizations. The definition and values attached with the co-operatives are as following. Definition. A cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. It is based on the values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity and solidarity. In the tradition of their founders, cooperative members believe in ethical values of honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others. 4.4.2 Basic Principles of Cooperatives. The principles of cooperative are guidelines by which cooperatives put their values into practice. Major principles are as following. 1. Voluntary and open membership. Cooperatives are voluntary organizations open to all persons, able to use their services and willing to accept the responsibilities of membership, without gender, social, political, or religious discrimination. 2. Democratic control. Cooperatives are democratic organizations controlled by their members, who actively participate in setting their policies and decisions making. Men and women serving as elected representatives are accountable to the members. In primary cooperatives, members have equal voting rights, one member, one vote. 3. Economic participation. Members contribute equitably to control the capital of their cooperative. At least part of that capital is usually the common property of the cooperative. Members usually receive limited compensation, if any, on capital subscribed as a condition of membership. 4. Autonomy and independence. Cooperatives are autonomous, self-help organizations controlled by their members. If they enter into agreements with other organizations, including governments, or raise capital from external sources, they do so on terms that ensure democratic control by their members and maintain their cooperative autonomy. 5. Education, training and information. Cooperatives provide education and training for their members, elected representatives, managers, and employees so that they can contribute effectively in the development of their cooperatives. They inform the general public, particularly young people and opinion leaders, about the nature and benefits of cooperation. 6. Cooperation among cooperatives. Cooperatives serve their members most effectively and strengthen the cooperative movement by working together through local, national, regional and international levels. 7. Concern for community. Cooperative works for the sustainable development of the communities through policies approved by its members. 4.4.3 Major types of cooperative systems. If we analyze the conceptual enunciation of cooperative system, we find that there are 3 types of cooperative systems. These are as following. I. Member-sponsored system. Member-sponsored cooperatives are the most ideal type of cooperative organizations. These cooperatives are organized to meet only the limited needs of the members and thereafter do not make much headway. They are small in terms of size and areas of operation. However, they are very effective in mobilizing people, particularly belonging to weaker sections of the society such as rural poor and women. 2. State-sponsored system. In many countries of the region, the state has been instrumental in developing cooperatives. They have used cooperatives as an instrument of economic development. By adopting this policy, state has assumed the role of planner, promoter and manager of cooperatives. The business operations of the cooperatives under the state-sponsored system are also linked with the developmental programs of the state. It has relegated the needs of the members in the background and raised cooperative, like public sector undertakings, specific budgetary allocation and creation of member of organizations by the state has provided the role of controller and manager of these cooperatives. 3. State-supported system. Under this system, state creates conducive environment through enactment of positive cooperative laws and by devising interactive support system. State does not directly involve in the management of agricultural cooperatives, but it encourages cooperatives for developing autonomous and professional functioning with active involvement of the members. At cooperative enterprise level, an integrated approach to meet the total need, economic, social and cultural, of members is effectively for 1:1:1 members are actively involved in business planning, implementation and monitoring of the operational plan of their cooperatives. The federations at secondary and tertiary level orient their business and managerial planning on the basis of the needs of their constituent member organizations. Thus members' needs become the focal point of agricultural cooperatives. Due consideration is given to positioning of cooperatives in market-oriented economy by ensuring professional management. 4.4.4 Some important cooperatives of rural areas. Cooperatives generally function in 4 major areas which are contributing in the process of development of rural areas. These 4 major areas are as following. I. Credit cooperative. It was to free the rural poor from the clutches of exploiters, money lenders, landlords, shopkeepers etc. and help them through cooperative credit system. Cooperative credit structure has 3-tier system. Primary agricultural credit societies constitute the base. The district cooperative bank is the apex cooperative institution and is responsible for the formulation, execution and coordination of credit policies in the state. A major development in the field of agricultural credit was the setting up of the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, NABARD, in 198Z as an apex national institution. 2. Marketing cooperative. Marketing cooperatives provide assistance to growers in marketing their products. Its development has been very uneven among different states. The structure of marketing societies consists of at national level National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation, NAFT, at state level State Marketing Federation, SMF, at the district or regional level Central Marketing Societies, CMS, and Primary Marketing Societies, PMS, at the secondary markets or wholesale assembling centers. 3. Processing cooperatives. Processing cooperatives have provided some of the most dramatic results, most specifically in the dairy cooperatives of Gujarat and the cooperative sugar factories in Maharashtra. Dairy cooperative which exhibits the most successful story of cooperative in India is the Milk Producers Cooperative at Anand in Gujarat. Here the milk producers established a two-tier system. At village level, they formed a Milk Producers Cooperative Society. All such societies together formed the district-level organization called Khaira District Cooperative Millet Producers Union. The producers supplied their milk to the village society. Union collects milk from all such societies and transports to Anand town where its processing plant is located. It provides fair price to producers, thus saves them from the exploitations by the traders and middlemen. The union on the other hand also provides various services and inputs at a reasonable cost to the producer members, to enhance the productivity of their cattle. Impressed by the great success of Anand pattern cooperatives, Government of India set up the National Dairy Development Board, NDDB, in 1965 under the chairmanship of Dr. V. Kurian. The real impetus to replicate it came in 1970 with the launching of Dairy Development Program known as Operation Flood. Sugar cooperatives, the cane growers in Ahmednagar district in western Maharashtra were able to establish the first successful cooperative sugar factory in 1951 at Pravanagar, which became a model for similar venture later. These sugar cooperatives are essentially processing and marketing organizations. Cane growers in a given area, 50 to 100 villages, form a cooperative. The members cultivate sugarcane on their own lands. The vast majority of shareholders in these factories hold 3 shares or less, equivalent to maximum of 1.5 acres of annual cane production by the shareholder. It has benefited small farmers from the complex of services which the factories provide. The large farmers earn larger total incomes by supplying cane to the cooperative factories. At management level they dominate the elected board of directors. 4. Cooperative farming. In 1959 the government recommended widespread encouragement of cooperative joint farming. It was envisaged that all surplus land beyond ceiling limits would be pooled for cooperative farming and the farmers could be convinced about the benefits of such farming through the Community Development Program and the Panchayati Raj institutions. It was argued that the cooperative joint farming in India would be economically more feasible in terms of agricultural inputs, operation of holdings and marketing of produce etc. However, cooperative farming in India was a dismal failure. Check your progress. 2. What are basic principles of cooperatives? 2. What are major types of cooperative system? 4.5 Green Revolution. At the time independence, Indian agriculture was confronted with prevalence of zamindari system, high level of indebtedness in rural areas and weak institutional support to rural areas. After independence, main emphasis was on institutional and agrarian reforms. It was aimed to create favorable conditions for the emergence of dynamic and progressive economy and to adopt a growth-oriented strategy. Green Revolution phase, 1968-80. Agriculture and rural development strategies in this phase were essentially growth-oriented even at the cost of institutional reforms. The occurrences of droughts between 1965-67 and subsequent food crisis coupled with the failure to build the institutions for rapid economic progress that would benefit the poor, have led to qualitative changes in the development perspective. The high-yield variety seed, water and fertilizer technology popularly known as Green Revolution was introduced to manage food crisis. During this phase systematic efforts were made to revamp the institutions of support system, viz., research and extension, credit and marketing to serve primarily the smallholders. A comprehensive policy was evolved with the basic objectives of increasing the production of basic goods and control of inflation. Major components of the policy are as following. Minimum support price. Creation of buffer stock to contain undue price rise. Strengthening of public distribution system, and regulation of trade in food. To attain the objectives of Green Revolution, agriculture input subsidies on fertilizers, water and electricity were introduced. Incentives were provided for the adoption of new technologies with a view to maximizing productivity. These efforts have yielded good results. Under the Green Rev's evolution, the output of wheat and rice increased remarkably. However, uneven performance was noticed in the output of minor cereals, pulses and commercial crops like oilseed, cotton and sugarcane. The PPDJNU study, Bhilla and Alag, has observed that the growth of food grains in certain area was primarily explained by factors such as irrigation and multiple cropping, while water seeds fertilizer technology was the key source of growth in other regions. Broadly, area expansion was the main factor of agriculture growth in pre-Green Revolution period, while productivity accounted for almost 3/4 of the output growth in the Green Revolution period. Technology and irrigation determined the rise in gross cropped area. It was estimated that for a 1% increase in irrigated area, the gross cropped area grew at 0.2%. Green Revolution. The form and consequences of Green Revolution have been the subject of discussion in different disciplines for 9M time to time. The studies on Green Revolution can be classified into two broad categories. The first are those which have positive and optimistic view, and second are those which have evidences of the negative consequences. However, the important questions are what are the achievements and who profits from it. The major achievements of the facilities provided in Green Revolution were that it has increased the food production. New seeds were beneficial in terms of wheat and to some extent rice and maize. The other grains were neglected. There has been to some extent an increase in food production, but at the expense of non-food production. All these and other observations indicate that purely localized gains have been made by the rich farmers in particular areas. Thus, Green Revolution can be considered a failure in terms of human needs, although it has succeeded in its goal of producing more food. Check your progress. 3. What are main features Green Revolution? 2. Critically examine the impact of Green Revolution in India. 4.6 Let us sum up. This unit has 3 vital sections: Panchayati Raj, cooperatives and Green Revolution. In Panchayati Raj, efforts have been to familiarize the learners with the evolution of Panchayati Raj and important features of Panchayati Raj, with special emphasis on the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. The second part 1T of the unit is on cooperative. In the second section, cooperative emphasis is on concept of cooperatives, basic principles of cooperatives, its major types and some important cooperatives who are contributing in the field of rural development. Third section is on Green Revolution. In it, emphasis is on the requirements, important features and on evolution of Green Revolution. 4.7 Keywords. Policy, principles that govern action directed towards given ends. Thrift, wise use of money and goods or avoidance of waste in the use of money. Thank you. We will see you in the next video.